Welcome back to Fine Living Journey. Today we are going to explore the hidden psychology and unique upbringing of the most misunderstood group of people alive today. We hear endlessly about the generations before and after them. People complain about the older crowds ruining the economy or the younger crowds being glued to their screens. But there is a quiet group born between 1965 and 1980 that flies completely under the radar. They are the ones keeping the lights on. They built the modern digital world but prefer to stay in the shadows. We need to talk about Generation X. Their mindset is incredibly unique. Let us look at the childhood that forged them. Millions of them grew up unlocking empty houses. Imagine coming home from school at 8 years old. You walk into a silent house. You are completely alone. There are no smartphones to call your parents. There are no cameras watching the front door. You pour a bowl of cereal and sit down in front of a television with only 4 channels. By the year 1984, there were millions of children fending for themselves every afternoon. They learned a harsh truth very early. No one is coming to save you. You have to figure things out on your own. This independence completely rewired their brains. They lived in a world of immediate consequences. If you made a mistake, you dealt with it. You could not text someone for advice. You made a decision and you lived with the fallout. When parents came home, there were no gentle conversations about feelings. You broke a rule and you faced the punishment. Psychologists call this a high contingency environment. It forces the brain to think 3 steps ahead. That is why this generation can spot a disaster before it happens. They are constantly analyzing risks because their survival depended on it. They also watched the adults in their lives say one thing and do another. They heard lectures about family values and loyalty. Then they watched divorce rates skyrocket through the 1970s and 1980s. They saw their parents dedicate 30 years to a single company. Then those same parents were fired without a second thought during corporate downsizing. The lesson was crystal clear. Institutions will abandon you. Promises are easily broken. Experts call this defensive pessimism. It simply means they hope for the best, but prepare for absolute disaster. It is not cynicism, it is advanced pattern recognition. They built emotional walls to protect themselves from constant disappointment. This explains their relationship with social media. They grew up in an era where mistakes were private. If you did something foolish, only a handful of people knew about it. There was no permanent digital record of every bad haircut or awkward conversation. Sharing every detail of your life online does not feel freeing to them. It feels like a massive security risk. They learned early that staying quiet keeps you safe. They prefer to stay invisible. They watch and observe. They refuse to trade their peace of mind for virtual validation. They also developed a brilliant shield of ironic detachment. They joke about everything. They keep their emotions tightly guarded. You have to understand the environment they grew up in. They practiced hiding under wooden school desks to prepare for nuclear fallout. Adults told them the world could end at any moment, but also told them to make sure their homework was finished. When you live with that kind of extreme contradiction, you learn to laugh at the absurdity. You build distance to protect yourself from caring too much. Yet they have an unmatched work ethic. You will not find them bragging about it online. They simply do the work. They learned responsibility through grueling childhood jobs. They delivered newspapers before the sun came up to hundreds of houses. They memorized prices and calculated change in their heads at fast food restaurants when the registers broke. These jobs taught them how the real world operates. They do not believe in company loyalty. They believe in personal competence. They know they cannot control corporate layoffs. They can only control how valuable they are to the operation. They make themselves impossible to replace. They are fiercely independent but incredibly loyal to their friends. Because their parents were often absent, they built their own families. Those bonds remain unbreakable today. Their view of authority is equally fascinating. They do not respect fancy job titles. They only respect actual skill. If you are competent, they will follow your lead. If you are an empty suit, they will see right through you. They watched leaders completely mismanage major crises from wars to economic disasters. They know that the people in charge are often clueless, and blind obedience is a mistake. Financially, they have been battered repeatedly. They entered the workforce during recessions. They lost money when the early internet bubble burst. They took another massive hit during the financial collapse. This trauma taught them to always have a backup plan. Many maintain multiple sources of income. They know better than to trust a single paycheck. All of this self-reliance comes with a cost. They rarely ask for help when they are struggling. Asking for support feels like a failure. They were trained to carry the weight of the world on their own shoulders. This makes them brilliant in an emergency. It also makes it very hard for them to show vulnerability. They remember what it was like to hunt for information. They spent hours in libraries searching for physical books. Knowledge required real effort. Because it took work to find answers, the information stayed with them. They fixed broken items with their own hands. They developed a deep understanding of how things operate. Now they are raising their own children in a completely different reality. They give their kids the constant attention they never received. But they secretly worry that this comfort is making the next generation too fragile. They are the bridge between the analog past and the digital future. They know how to exist in silence. They know how to solve problems without a search engine. They do the heavy lifting while expecting zero praise. They just want to get the job done. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos like this.